And I
Real.
had a chance to visit some of the larger data centers in the country. But not everybody gets to do that. And so a lot of people don't realize that this thing called the cloud, and of course, the cloud is a marketing term, not a real specification. It's not like
Yeah.
uh,
Right.
HTML5, where there's a
Hmm.
specification for it. And find with people that are starting to use technology, we just kind of assume that, everybody knows what the cloud is. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't. Because it doesn't really, have a definition of things. So
Right.
this is more to explain what it is and how it works as opposed to how to actually use it. So we do have, I mean, so this is some people will say, well, I don't understand where my stuff goes when I put it in OneDrive or where it goes in iCloud or things like that. And this helps them understand that a little bit. And I do a little comparison between the Google, Apple, and Microsoft cloud services that are offered, so that people have an understanding that it's not just one cloud. It's there's actually different
Mhm.
ones run by different companies.
Right. And then some people think it's just one. Yeah.
Right, right. There, where there's the cloud. Who owns it? Right. Well,
Right. They really ask like, where's the cloud? Kind of. Yeah.
yes,
Some people even ask like, where is the internet? Right.
yeah. Well, it's whatever happens. You're actually using the internet now. You are the
Right.
internet, right? They don't realize, huh? What does that mean? And I kind of walk them through some basic terminology that isn't very technical and try and draw some comparisons. So I tell people like, when you're when you open up a bank account at a different bank, you can have the money underneath your mattress at home or in a safe in your home in cash,
Mm.
or you can put the money in a bank, like say Bank of America. Um, do you actually have the physical dollar bills that you have on deposit at Bank of America? No, right? It's
Right.
in their financial cloud, whatever it is, right? But you can get it out. But if
Yeah.
you put money in Bank of America and then you go say to another bank like Wells Fargo, and you put $1 in Bank of America and $1 in Wells Fargo, and you go to Wells Fargo and say, can you get the dollar I have in Bank of America for me? Wells Fargo
Hmm.
will tell you, no, they can't do that. You have to go to your Bank of America branch, right?
Right. Right.
And that's the difference between Apple and Google and Microsoft is
Right.
it's like having money on deposit somewhere else. Now, we had an incident happen earlier today where a Zoom user logged in and tried to promote themselves in chat for support services.
Oh,
So,
that happened to us actually,
oh, it was
but
you.
we didn't mind.
Okay.
I was with Vicky
Yeah,
earlier this morning.
yeah, yeah. And in the chat, it seemed the Slack chat, it seems to be that the policy is going to be to block, kick them out of the meeting if they try and do that.
Right. He just sent a message once, but
Okay.
after that, he didn't spam. So
Okay.
that's why we didn't kick him out.
Okay.
And we know that he knows something about the technology. So, but we didn't care because he was not interrupting, he was
Okay.
not spamming.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We
he was just silent.
just want to make it, remind him that, hey, policy is you don't advertise or promote, right?
Okay, now that I didn't know.
Yeah,
Now
yeah,
I know what I'm going to do next time if that happens again.
yeah.
Anyway,
You can warn him and then let him in as long as he agrees to comply. Right, right.
right.
Okay.
Anyway, now I made you the
I'm
host. Please
letting him
make me the
in.
co-host, okay?
Okay.
Anyway, how many people are you expecting today?
I think we're expecting about 20. There we go. Sorry, I didn't make you co-host in time. Okay, there we go.
All right, they're coming in, so I'll just be in the background.
Great. Thank you, Phil. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to understanding the cloud. I guess that's a good topic for today, isn't it? Let's talk about that. Why don't we? Hi, Win. Good seeing you again. See some familiar faces. Hi. Hi, Carter. Good to see you.
You too.
All right. Hi, Cece. Good to
Hi,
see you.
nice to see you too.
Great, great. So I know for some of you, I see some light outside some of your windows. Some of you have some virtual backgrounds, but it's um, late afternoon for me. It's about 4 o'clock. I'm on the West Coast. So I know for some of you it's evening. Don't skip your dinner because of class. Okay. So I mean it's important. Hi, Zoom user, you have your hand up. Maybe we can help you rename yourself.
Oh, no. Yes, I'm trying and I got the hand up by accident instead of
That's
figuring
okay.
out how to rename myself.
Well, I can do that for you. What is your name?
Vera, V-E-R-A.
I'm sorry, Vera, V-E-R-A. Okay.
Yes.
Excuse me. I wear hearing aids and I listened to a lot of rock music when I was a kid in college. And
Uh-huh.
so sometimes, the microphones don't pick up the sound real well and my ears don't hear it real well. And so if I ask anyone to repeat anything, please don't be offended. It's just that my sometimes my hearing isn't as sharp as it used to be. And I know that happens. That's not anyone else's problem, right? It's just mine, but it's interesting. They say people go about 8 years before they admit they need help with their hearing. So it's kind of interesting. But I'm used to hearing. It's like kind of like glasses. I wore glasses since I was 5 years old, so I'm familiar with that. Okay, let
I
me.
didn't get hearing aids, but the pandemic started, So
Yeah,
I'm not doing
yeah,
it right now yet, even.
yep,
I
yeah.
will. I will.
You will. Okay, good, good. Okay, I'm gonna share some slides here for an introduction, and then we'll talk about what we're going to talk about, and talk about some questions that people have about understanding the cloud. Now, this isn't how to use the cloud. We have some really good instructors that teach classes on how to use the cloud. This is about understanding the cloud. Okay, so there's a little bit of a difference between understanding something and learning how to use it. But you'll learn more about it. And I think understanding something makes it easier to learn how to use it as well. So I'm Bob Cohen. I'm from Seal Beach, and I was born in Chicago. I worked in the tech industry. And, if you work in something a long enough time, learning a little bit more about it's easier. I tried learning ballroom dancing about 5 years ago, and I had to start with what is my left foot, and what is my right foot, so, but I'd never learned ballroom dancing. So I actually got pretty good at it, but took a lot of lessons. And we're going to try and make technology easier for you to understand. Phil, as our teaching assistant today, he is available in chat, and he's got a window on our Zoom window as well. If you're having any technical difficulties or any questions, he'll help me monitoring chat. He may help. Sometimes microphones pick up a little bit of noise when we're in a Zoom meeting. So if we have that problem and it's interfering with the class, we might mute everyone just to clean up some background noise if that happens. But we want to make sure that you can unmute yourself if you have questions. and help you understand what in the world this thing is called the cloud. So we're a learning organization. You can always request a recording at help@getsetup.io. And if we are live streaming, which I believe we are live streaming this class, the best way to participate, go to getsetup.io, register for a class, and just join our community of learners that want to learn more and help improve their knowledge about anything. We're not paid to promote any specific products or services, although we are going to mention some companies and brands and technologies that might come up, but we're not paid by any of them to promote anything. We're just using them for the purposes of learning. So what we're going to cover today is, what is the cloud? Look at my little drawing tool here working. What is the cloud? How using the cloud can help you, and some information about some of the major cloud services. Okay, so I'm going to take off my slide here and put my gallery view up and see if you have. Now I'm going to use an old technology. It's pretty old. Okay, it's called a paper and a pen. Okay, in case, so I can write down some questions. A pencil works too, Curve. Yeah. And so is there any pressing questions that people say, gee, I hope he's going to cover that today and help explain this about the cloud?
Yeah, I don't understand the cloud or the limitations of the cloud. Like I know there's a certain size after which you have to pay for the cloud or something.
Yes, there is a certain amount you get for free.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Things happen for free. And when you're talking about cloud storage,
Yes.
cloud services, sometimes you have to pay for additional resources depending on what you are using.
So my question is going to be, how do you get out of doing that or putting everything on the cloud? I don't need to have it on the cloud.
Oh, well, there's an easy way and a hard way. Okay. And sometimes the easy way may not work well for you. Okay. So we'll talk about a couple of ways. Okay, Steve?
Okay, good. Thanks.
Okay. So cloud, no cloud. Okay. All right. Okay. Anybody else? All right. I'm sure you're going to have questions.
Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
pretty much the same. I know I pay 99 cents every month to Apple for something, and I'd like to understand what I'm paying for and why. I mean, at least the concept. Similar.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Laverne?
Is the cloud and OneDrive the same thing?
Well, that's a really good question. And I'm going to answer that a little later on. Okay.
Okay.
So if I don't answer that, keep me honest before class ends. Okay.
Okay.
But I will, I've got that on my list and topics to cover. Okay.
Okay.
Great. And Carter?
And I just hope to get answered. Is it very complicated to use more than maybe even several different cloud sources?
Okay. Okay. And Kathy, you had your hand up. Thank you for waiting.
Is the cloud and iCloud, are they the same thing? I mean, I know nothing about the cloud. If it's not in the sky, I don't know what it is.
Yeah. It's kind of this thing like, where do you get your hands on it, right? And it actually is physical. I'm going to try and explain it to you physically, and we'll talk about the differences between clouds, and maybe I'll think of some imaginative ways to help you understand which cloud you are using and which one you might think about. Okay, so great. These are all great questions. So I think,
I have one more. Is it safe?
Is it safe? Okay. Safe from what, Vera?
Well, some passwords can be stored there, and then if my files can be stored there. Will anyone have access to those things?
Okay, good question. Good question. Okay, it's usually about as safe as you make it, but you have some options to look at on that. And I'm gonna recommend a class on password managers. Is a really good class to talk that will help you understand safety and security of information you keep somewhere. Okay. All
Thank
right.
you.
All right. I think we're all in the right place for learning about the cloud today then. And everybody, you can see everybody's got similar questions. We're all kind of in the same place about the cloud. It's like if somebody, came from, the Civil War and they came into our modern world and we said, oh yeah, we do video conferencing. They'd say, what are you talking about? Right. So we just kind of take a lot of these things for granted, unfortunately. And they got built up over time, believe it or not. Okay, so number one question, what is the cloud? Okay, the cloud consists of computers that are simply outside of your immediate household. The cloud is not a specification. It's not like, 87 octane gasoline that has to meet a specific specification or USDA choice. There's no specification that says, oh, this is something that is a cloud if it does these things. It's kind of a marketing term. And it came about because as computer people in the 1970s started drawing pictures of computers on whiteboards in conference rooms, they got tired of drawing pictures of every single little computer. So they draw a picture, maybe of one computer like this, and another computer like this, and another computer like this. And then it would all be in one computer room. And then people would be connected via their displays on their desks, to these computers, right? And we just got tired of drawing all these little boxes. And we said, let's just make it a big cloud and everybody will just connect up to that. And that's how it started years and years and years ago. Okay. So the cloud can mean a number of different things. What it generally means is that it's computers that are somewhere on the internet and they're all connected together by cables to each other. And when you connect yourself to the internet, you get connected to all these other computers. Okay. And they're physically out there. They're in places, but you may not know where they're located. And where they are located in facilities called data centers. Sorry about that. Sometimes my mouse moves ahead of me. Okay, a data center is a facility for computers. It's got rows and rows of computers and of tile floors, and they're air conditioned, and generally they're connected to the internet, and they're usually owned by some company or organization, and they're all over the world. There's hundreds of them. People like Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook, governments, universities, and corporations own them. They own these data centers. Some data centers are owned by companies that rent space to other people that want to put their computers. So instead of having to build your own entire data center, you can buy, say, one of these chassis here and say, I want to use this much space. And you can rent space in data centers, just like renting an apartment or renting an office in an office suite. So these are all computers all over the world. Now, most companies don't like to broadcast where their data centers are, but they're in a lot of places that are where you typically have a lot of power because they're computers. So they need a lot of electricity. And it's a good idea to have several data centers, because if you had, say, one in Florida and one in, say, the Pacific Northwest and one in Chicago, and if a hurricane came through Florida and knocked out your data center, the one in Chicago or the Pacific Northwest would have the data that, and so nothing would be lost. And so many times there are multiple copies of things all around the world sometimes too. And it's kind of like when you go to get a map from Google. Anybody use Google Maps for directions to go find places? Most people have, right? Well, do you know where the map is kept by Google? No. And does it matter? Not really. You just want the map to get to you when you need directions, right? And so somewhere out in some data center somewhere, Google has a copy of all their map information, and it's available to you when you connect to the internet. Do you know when you deposit money in your bank? Have you ever used the photo feature on your phone to make a deposit a check by phone? You know, if you ever you do that, you know, and you go in and you put cash in your bank, they take the cash and they give you a receipt that says we got your money, and they give you a balance in your account. So you have money there, right? So think of a data center as just a place to keep electronic information, just the same way you'd use a bank to keep money. Okay. And, you know, some people prefer keeping cash at home, but banks are a pretty safe place for it as well. And data centers are actually pretty safe places for data also.
I think those people that lived through the Depression would say, don't keep it in the bank. Necessarily.
They might, but you know, and there's differences, or you might keep it in gold, or if you have stocks in a brokerage account,
Yeah.
you actually don't have the physical certificates these days that much. You have an
That's true.
account, don't you? Right? So we've learned to trust it, but it's always a good idea to keep a little cash on hand in case of the zombie apocalypse, right? You know, so it's always a good idea for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there are really cables. You know, I don't know if you remember telegraphs and telegrams and wires. You know, at one point when you know, Morse and figured out how to send telegraph signals over a wire, people started laying wires all over the world to send telegraphs from, so they could send a telegraph from London to the United States, or from New York to San Francisco, or other things. And you didn't have to use things like ships and the Pony Express, right? So running wires around the world has been common for a really long time. And this is a map. This is actually a service that runs mapping tools that actually tracks cables that are under the oceans. And these are submarine cables that run all over the world. These are just a few of them. There's lots of them. So that there are cables that run from, as you'd expect, from New York to Europe, and from you know, the West Coast to Asia. And there are hundreds and hundreds of physical cables running underneath the ocean. And there's cables running through our streets as well, and up on telephone poles on land. So these cables connect all of these data centers together so that there are multiple ways to get from point A to point B. It's like a big railroad system. It's like an interstate highway system that gives you the ability to connect them. And this is a data center map I found of just the United States. You can see there are hundreds of data centers in certain areas, as you'd expect in more remote areas like Montana, there's not as many, or North Dakota. But in some areas like, you know, San Francisco, the Bay Area, there's hundreds of data centers around. And these are facilities that have computers. So there's all these physical buildings. They typically don't say, you know, Google or Facebook on them, or Amazon. They'll typically have be a blank building. There might be a big, look like a warehouse or look like an office building, but it's just filled with computers. And that's the internet, and that's the cloud. Okay, it's where all this stuff is. And you have a company that you buy internet services from, don't you? You probably pay a monthly bill. And when you use that service, you get to websites. So the World Wide Web is one of the things that's out on the internet, okay? And that's in the cloud. It's not, these websites aren't here like getsetup.io. The Zoom service that's actually connecting us together on video right now, that's somewhere out in the cloud, isn't it? Right? And so the cloud can be anything that you can use on a computer that's out on the internet. And so computers can hold websites, computers can hold storage. So when you put money in the cloud, in a bank, you're putting money in a bank. So let's say you put $1 in one bank. Okay, I'm not very good at drawing bank buildings, but this is going to work. Okay, so let's say you have $1 here in bank A. Okay, and then you have another bank B, and you put another dollar in here. Okay, and then you have another bank C, and these could be like Bank of America or Wells Fargo or your credit union, whatever. Well, the question then is the money you have in this bank available if you walk into this bank's branch? Let's say this is Bank of America and you walk into Wells Fargo and you say to Wells Fargo, I want you to give me the $1 I have on deposit at Bank of America. Are they going to give it to you? No, they can't get to it. They say, hey, we really appreciate your coming into Wells Fargo and visiting our branch today. But in order for you to get the $1 you have in Bank of America and withdraw it from Bank of America, you will have to go to the Bank of America branch, right? And so you can put money in different banks, can't you? You know that, right? Well, guess what? You can store data in different clouds, okay? Because Apple runs one, Microsoft runs one, Google runs one, and those are the three popular services that we would probably use. And it's like, just instead of your money being in that storage vault, it is your data, your files that are in that storage vault, if you choose to use the cloud. So I got to give Apple and Microsoft and Google credit. They have really good technology people. They pay them a lot of money, and they provide cloud services to consumers like us, but they also provide cloud services to governments and other corporations and other organizations that really rely on them being very secure. So generally, the way people make their cloud storage less secure is by using a poor quality or weak password. And so as long as you're using a strong password when you use a cloud service, your data is going to be protected by the company that holds on to that. And sometimes you might have a company like Apple, let's say it's Apple here, they might have a second computer and they copy the information back and forth all the time. So if this data center gets wiped out, by some disaster, this one still has all of your information, no matter where you are, and you can get to it. And if this cable breaks, they can still get to you through this cable path as well. So it is built to work in disasters. That's one way the internet was designed, and the cloud is just something that is available to you on the internet. It's a lot of services. I'm going to pause for some questions and a sip of water. Anybody have any questions now? Laverne, you have your hand up, is that right? Go ahead.
Okay, yes. you were saying that if you put a file in one cloud, would you or would you not be able to say if something happened in the cloud that you have your file and something happened to that cloud, would you be able to go into another cloud and pull up your file?
If it's a different cloud service, let's say you put a picture up in Microsoft's cloud, okay, a photograph.
Mhm.
Now, Microsoft has more than one physical data center where they keep the data. So if one of their data centers broke down, Microsoft would just use the copy of your photo that they have in a second data center. But let's say for whatever reason, Microsoft just all their data centers broke, right? And you lost access to Microsoft completely, and it was gone.
Mhm.
And you go to Apple or Google, they don't have your photo unless you put it in their cloud. It's like the dollar you put in Bank of America, it's in Bank of America's cloud. If you put it in Wells Fargo, it's in Wells Fargo. If you put it in your credit union, it's in your credit union. Okay. And so you have to go to that location. You have to go to them to get it out.
So it would be, in other words, it would be highly unlikely that like Microsoft would lose all of the information. That would be highly unlikely. But if that did happen, you could go to another one if you have used that other one to put your file in.
Yes. If you put your
Okay.
photos in both places, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like making a copy, say, of your birth certificate, for example. If you had two copies of it and you had one copy in a safe deposit box with one bank and another copy in a safe deposit box in another bank, yeah, you have two copies out there, but they're in different banks.
Okay.
I tend to have two external hard drives to save stuff to. So that you're not only if your computer goes down, you have one, but you have two.
Yeah, it's like having a duplicate backup of something. But you're absolutely right. If for some reason Microsoft and Google and Apple all make sure they make backups and backups and backups. They have really well-paid, well-trained people that know how to do this better than we do. And so they make sure that it's always available whenever you need it. Of course, if the zombie apocalypse comes, we're all in trouble, right? So we can't really do much about it then, no matter what cloud we have it in. Okay, good questions, good questions. So you're starting to get a better understanding of it, okay? So how do you physically connect to the cloud? Well, if you have a laptop or a desktop, you typically have a cable or maybe a Wi-Fi connection. It might be wireless, it might be a physical cable. You connect to an internet service provider. They connect you to the internet and the cloud. And you pay them a fee, typically for that connection. I guess I should use green for money, shouldn't I? Let's try that. See if it makes the dollar sign any better. Okay, you pay them a monthly subscription to your internet service provider in order to get to the internet. And they connect you to whatever websites, cloud storage services, banks, shopping websites you use. They connect you to all of this stuff out on the internet. And it's just out there. It's just something that is not with you. So you are here and the cloud is just separated from you. That's all it is. It's really just something that's not in your physical possession, but you own it electronically. It's just your internet service gets you there. What about cell phones? Well, they connect pretty much the same way. Cell phones, connect to a cell tower, right? They can also use Wi-Fi at home, but let's say you're out of your home and you're driving around town and you're, looking for map directions or something. Your cell phone connects to a cell tower. That cell tower has a cable that your cellular service runs, and they charge you a monthly fee, and they can connect you to the cloud. They run a cable that gets you to the cloud. So how we connect to the internet and the cloud is through our local internet service provider and through our cellular provider. You can do it either way. They'll both get you there, which means that you can use things on the cloud on your cell phone, even when you're not at home, can't you? Because as long as you've got cellular service, you can get to the cloud and the internet. Let me change I have to change my mouse every time I advance a slide, so that's why it's moving around. Okay, this is the vocabulary lesson for today. The internet is a collection of connected computers. Okay, it's accessible by anybody that pays a fee to get on the internet, either through their internet service provider or their cellular provider. They will get you on the internet, okay? And that's where the cloud lives. URLs is the addressing scheme for the internet. It's like the postal system of the internet. So when you type in a web address like google.com or getsetup.io, and you put it in your browser and you hit the return button or click your mouse and it goes out and finds it. There's not a squirrel in there doing it. There's an electronic signal that goes out from your computer and it holds this information and it says, okay, I want to get to google.com, get me there, and it'll follow the path to get you to the right computer where google.com is located. Internet technology tends to like numbers better. So every computer on the internet has an IP address. They have an address that helps everybody on the internet find it. And when you get on the internet from your home computer or from your cell phone, the internet, your service provider gives you an IP address and it acts like a postal system. So, with the post office, when you want to address a letter, you put a return address on it in the upper left corner, and you put the name, the street number, the street name, city, state, and zip on the envelope, and you put a stamp on it, and somehow or another the post office knows where to deliver it. Well, this is the postal addressing system of the internet. That's how all these messages and pieces of information know how to get from point A to point B and back again. They have addresses for all the computers on the internet. And you have an address when you're on the internet too, that's given to you by your internet service provider. It's just like the electronic version of the post office, which unfortunately is why people like sending emails to each other, because it's fast, as opposed to writing letters and putting stamps on them. You can say the same thing in an email as you can on a written letter, right? But it gets there faster and quicker and usually less expensive. I mean, you are paying for your internet service, not stamps though.
But I think people that are older appreciate a note, a physical note, rather than email or a text or something. But I know we've had to get used to using text and that for our friends and family that don't use, written material. But I still think that a lot of us do enjoy a card.
Yeah, well, actually, marketers have figured out, Cece, that sending a postcard or a letter or something like that arrives by postal mail, oftentimes gets more attention than an email. But it depends on the person and the user. I think there are a lot of people that may not have ever set foot in a post office, but it's another way to send information, right? And you're right. I think people, sometimes I still get catalogs from a couple of direct mail companies because catalogs are something you can keep, you can browse, during commercials on TV, and you can use it. But I order things over the internet. I don't call the catalog companies too much anymore. Okay, so if the cloud is out on the internet, what does it do? Well, a lot of things. Okay, the cloud can be any service that's done on the internet. It can be storage, like a cloud storage drive. It can be backup of data. Cloud services let you share things with other people, and they can be applications. We talked about maps, but if you're using something like Gmail or Yahoo or AOL Mail, your mail is actually stored in the cloud. And if you're using something like a Google Calendar or an Apple Calendar, your data is stored in the cloud, so that whenever you connect up, whether it's your desktop or laptop or smartphone or tablet, there's one copy of information that's kept up to date, no matter what device you use to connect up to it. And this becomes the master copy. This is where I think a lot of people have trouble thinking about it, is that instead of, when we had computers 10 years ago, we kept all of our files on our local hard drive. Okay, we would keep them here. Now, we use more than one device. We use a desktop, we might use a smartphone, we might use a tablet. And if we just have the information here, the only way we can move it from here to here is to make a copy of it, say on a flash drive or something, and move it over. But if we send it up to the cloud and keep it in a cloud copy, then whenever these devices connect, they can keep it all up to date automatically across any device. So even if we lost our phone, if we lost our tablet, if our laptop was stolen or broke down, we can still get to this information because it's here in the cloud, not in addition to being on our local device. So that's one benefit of using the cloud, is that no matter what you use to connect up to it, you can get to something if you need to. This idea of having a master copy, not on your computer, but in the cloud, is why companies and businesses have used the cloud for a lot of purposes. If you don't want data sent to the cloud, you just have to make sure that you save the data locally on your device. But if you use more than one device in your daily technology usage, you won't be able to share information between those two devices unless you physically move it, like with a flash drive or a cable, to connect these things together. The advantage of, and one of the reasons a lot of people do like using the cloud, is that the data and the files and the information is there in the cloud whenever you want to get to it over the internet. Any questions about that? Kind of like, okay, instead of keeping my money in my mattress, I'll put it in a bank and let them keep it for me. That's kind of the comparison. So some people would rather keep their money at home and rather than in a bank, but most people would rather keep their money in a bank these days. And guess what? When you use your ATM card, you're using a banking network to get cash out. It's it's not on the internet. It's not, but it's available. Banks connect themselves to each other through data centers and cables that just connect banks together. And your ATM card is your password to get money out of your bank account. Pretty neat how it all works. Okay. Let's talk about the three big clouds that people use.
I think
Apple.
Laverne had her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Who had their hand up?
I did.
Yeah, go ahead, Laverne.
If I can remember what I was gonna ask. Oh, so if, say for instance, if I had my files in a cloud and something were to happen to my laptop, and for some reason I couldn't retrieve it, or it got damaged and I couldn't use it, and I got another laptop, I could go to the previous cloud and get my same information out of there.
Absolutely. That is completely correct, Laverne. Thank you for explaining that to everyone so well. You want to do the next class for me?
Not hardly.
Oh, darn it, darn it. You know, I thought maybe someone else would take on teaching the cloud, right? Yeah, but that is exactly the right way to think about it. If anything happens to your computer, let's use red, you know, to make sure if your laptop gets stolen or broken or damaged, if your smartphone, you know, gets damaged, stolen, lost, you drop it in a lake or something, or anything happens, whatever you got, this is where your data is kept. And what email account do you use? Do you use a Gmail account, Laverne?
No, Yahoo, and I do have a Gmail, but I don't never use the Gmail.
Okay. Well,
I use Yahoo.
Yahoo Mail is kept in Yahoo's cloud. So that even if you lost, you know, when you get a new device, like a new smartphone or something, you have to log into Yahoo. Well, that gives you access to all of your mail. They keep your mail in their cloud for you. And so that no matter where you are, as long as you know your email address and your password, you can get to your email, no matter where you're located.
Okay.
Yeah, it's I mean, now, like I said, like Cece said, she's not for everybody. Some people don't want to have things in the cloud. That's okay. You just need to make sure that when you save things, you save them on your local computer storage. So if you have something on your phone, it'll be in the storage on your phone. If you have something on your laptop, it'll be stored on your laptop or on your tablet, and it won't be available except on that device, okay? Unless you physically, you know, move it somewhere, or via cable, or, you know, with a flash drive like a little USB drive that has a little connector on it. That's a terrible flash drive, I know, but that you have to physically make a copy. But guess what? iPhones, you can't plug flash drives into iPhones, can you?
Mhm.
No. So they're kind of built with the idea that you're going to be moving around in places and doing things different places.
Well, I'm talking about especially pictures. Pictures can take up a lot of room.
They
in the
can.
cloud.
Yeah, they can. And so if you have, I have the latest iPhone that I bought came with 128 gigabytes of memory, which is more that was in a lot of computers I used to own. But my photos take up 20 gigabytes, and I have 6,000 photos. Okay, but some, you know, but I have, you know, I keep family movies on my hard drive. I have a 1 terabyte hard drive on my computer, and it's only about half full. Okay, and like Google, I mean, you know, you can get 1 terabyte of cloud storage from people, from services. So there's a lot of services. So some people had questions about what are they paying for and what do they get for free. So
I was one. Oh,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was wondering, I need a new phone. And I have a lot of pictures on them. And I have, my son and daughter-in-law went to Italy and Europe and all of that summer before last. And they took me along, on my phone with the pictures. And so now I don't want to lose that, and I won't get another phone. So could I put all of that on the cloud so I wouldn't lose it, or
Yeah.
what would I do?
If it's an Apple iPhone, well.
No, it's not. It's a
Android, okay.
Android.
Most Android users will tend to use Google Photos to store their photos. And if you store them in Google Photos, Google moves them to the cloud. They keep a copy on your phone, and then they make another copy in Google's cloud for you, so that when you get a new device, you just connect up to your Google Cloud. But if you go to a cellular store and you tell them, hey, I want to make sure that my photos are backed up to a cloud, they probably will help you. Depends on the cellular store, okay? But they will help you with that typically.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, but you're absolutely right. If you get them up in the cloud, then when you get your new phone, you sign into your cloud account, and all the photos will start showing up on your phone when they all get copies downloaded. So you have a copy in the cloud, you have a copy on your phone. Both places.
Are you gonna show us in this session how we get to the cloud?
Not how to, because we have some great classes on Google Drive and iCloud and OneDrive. Okay, so that's the how-to process. Now you understand it. Now you want to understand how to use it. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So let's take a look at the three clouds, because depending on what technology you have, you might gravitate towards Apple or towards Google or towards Microsoft, and they're all good. They're all good. Okay, so Apple gives you iCloud, and Apple connects a lot of their applications, their Photos app on their phone, their email, their notes, their reminders, their calendar. So you can use all of those things on a Mac, on an iPhone or iPad. That's what iOS is, but also on Windows computers. And you can get to iCloud on the web at iCloud.com. So even if you don't have anything else, you can get to it at iCloud.com. They give you 5 gigabytes of storage for free, which isn't a lot. Apple will also back up your phone and tablet to iCloud as well. If you want to expand your storage to 50 gigabytes, which is the first upgrade, it's 99 cents a month. Somebody said they were paying 99 cents a month and they wanted to know what it was for. I forgot who asked that. But that's what 99 cents a month to Apple gets you. It gets you into 50 gigabytes of storage. And Apple has free apps that they give you when you buy an Apple product. A word processor called Pages, a presentation tool called Keynote, Numbers, which is a spreadsheet, Apple Photos, obviously, and the other apps I mentioned, like Reminders and Notes and other things too. So Apple gives you a cloud. If you use mostly Apple products, the Apple iCloud is probably the way to go. But you got a choice. Google works, their cloud and their drives and their apps work on Macs, iPhones, iPads, Windows, Android. Okay, Laverne, you said an Android phone, so Google will work on that. Chromebooks and the web. You get 15 gigabytes of storage for free. They charge $1.99 a month for 50 gigabytes, and you get the Google apps. These are all free apps to use on your phone, and it'll work on all of these different devices. Okay. Now the third one is Microsoft. They aren't in any order. It just depends on which technology you tend to use the most. OneDrive is integrated very well tightly with Windows, but you can download it for Macs, iOS, Android, and use it on the web. And so Apple lets you use Microsoft or Google. They don't really care which, Apple wants you to, they'd like you to use iCloud, but they're okay if you use Google or Microsoft's cloud too. Microsoft gives you 5 gigabytes free. They will sell storage to you for $1.99 a month for 100 gigabytes. That's just OneDrive. But if you buy Microsoft's 365, it includes 1 terabyte of storage in OneDrive. That's a lot of storage. And a licensed copy of Word, PowerPoint, Excel, OneDrive photos, and extras as well. And you get that costs $70 a year for Microsoft 365. So they all are, if you really want to use any cloud service a lot, you're probably going to end up paying at some point for it. But my suggestion is try to focus on one. So if you're primarily an Android phone user, but you also use a Windows PC, it's going to be a trade-off between Google and Microsoft. Which one you tend to use more? Do you use your phone more than your computer, or do you use your computer more than your phone? Because they'll work both. For Apple users that have Macs and iPhones, Apple's cloud works really well. But I have Macs and iPhones, and I use OneDrive also because I subscribe to Microsoft 365, and I get this huge 1 terabyte of storage that's available too. It's kind of like if you start putting your money into more different bank accounts, keeping track of where you put it becomes a little harder, right? So keeping it down to one is best. Try to avoid using too many different clouds, okay? And they're all pretty comparable in price. It's just a matter of what technology do you use mostly for them. Now, just so you know, this is a big business, okay? Amazon runs a cloud service. In addition to selling stuff on retail and delivering stuff to our doors, Amazon runs a service called AWS. It's called Amazon Web Services. So people like Uber use Amazon's cloud for running their business. Amazon made $51 billion last year just on selling cloud services to companies. Microsoft, big one, they call it Azure. They made $56 billion just on their cloud services. And Google, which you'd think would be the bigger one, but they're actually third, they're at $16 billion a year. That's nothing to sneeze at. That's a pretty good amount of business for, just by itself. And then the others are out there, IBM, Dropbox, Oracle, computer companies like Comcast, Dell, and HP. But this cloud business is growing at 25 to 30% a year because it gives companies and companies use the cloud a lot. Consumers really just got access to it in the past 5 years or so at the same way that a big company could use it. So now it's affordable, it's easy, and there's lots of resources available for us to use it. But it's a big business. So if you have any investment in mutual funds or retirement plans, you've got money in the cloud business. Okay, so we looked at a few things. I'm going to wrap up and then we'll take some more questions, okay? We covered the basics of clouds, and the fact that some of you were asking me these kinds of questions make a lot of sense. So that why are you paying 99 cents? That was Carol's question, I remember. And so what it means, how is it safe? Is it secure? What are the advantages and disadvantages? And what are the big differences between these as well? These are the classes to learn how to. Google Drive, OneDrive, iCloud. And the Get Set Up classes on these will say, okay, now you know what, you understand the cloud. Now you want to know how to use it best and how to learn how to use it. I do a couple of classes on Windows 10, on finding new iPhone apps, on home networks. So usually I do my classes Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. You're going to get notes with links to all of the cloud services I mentioned. You can request a recording. You'll get suggestions. Let us know how we did, both on the class and as me as an instructor. And when you register for a class, you can invite a friend. I've used that. Anybody else use that? Invited a friend when they register. Pretty neat tool. Now you can do it. And then you can always request a recording at help@getsetup.io, suggest a class, host an interest group even. So there's somebody starting a technology interest group, I noticed too. So I don't know if this is how you wanted to spend your afternoon or evening, but I'm glad you joined me and helped me get an idea of what people need to learn about the cloud a little bit more. So we've got a few minutes for questions. Did everybody learn at least one thing today?
I learned a lot.
Okay.
Me too.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
And
I learned a lot.
I usually measure my own learning. If I learn one thing in an hour, that's a plus. If I learn more, that's a bonus, as far as I'm concerned. Because, but learning new things is I think is exciting and fun. So let's take a few questions. Anybody raise your hand or let me know if you've got a question about the cloud or anything we've covered today. Laverne?
Yeah, I want to go back to the first part of the session where you were talking about, it's called the data center or the computer center. And
Yeah.
you were saying that you can buy some space. And I was just curious, now who would buy space like that? Would it be an individual for some reason, or if you had a business?
Typically a business or a service or maybe a school or government, like Get Set Up. We buy services, in data centers, as an example, to run our website and other services like that. So sometimes a government, like a local city government, might buy services of space in the data centers as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But typically an individual, you can do it. It's just a matter of, is it something that you would want to do? Because now that these clouds are available from like Microsoft, Apple, and Google, that's a low cost way of getting essentially data center capacity for ourselves for storage.
Yeah, that wouldn't even make sense for an individual to do
It's
that.
not that common. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lynette, you've got your hand up. I see that. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thanks for your class. It's very interesting. Where can I learn about OneDrive? I don't know what it's about.
Getsetup.io. At your Get Set Up account, there is a class on OneDrive that is taught. I know OneDrive Basics. I don't know if we do an advanced one or an intermediate one, but I know there's a OneDrive Basics class, and you're going to get a link in the email follow-up after class that'll have a link to Microsoft's website that you can learn more about OneDrive also.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Welcome. Any other questions? Yeah, Curb.
Would you feel comfortable about putting your personal information on the cloud instead of on your computer hard drive or flash drive? I'm talking about banking information and social security number.
There's Microsoft's OneDrive actually has a new capability called the Vault, VAULT. That your data is in OneDrive and it's in a secure area. Obviously, it's protected by your email and password login. But when you put it in the folder called the Microsoft Vault, it has an additional layer of security that protects it. So that's where you could keep things. It's designed specifically for valuable documents like tax returns that might have your social security number on them, and birth certificates and other things like that for you to keep electronic copies in it. I'm not sure whether Google Drive or Apple's iCloud have that feature yet, but they will probably come out with it very shortly. Because it's something people want to keep. It's like, you're keeping a passport, copy. You want to have that available whenever you travel in case you lose it, and do that.
Thanks for your class. I
Thank
learned
you.
a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for
Thank
being
you.
today, and I hope to see you soon at some other classes. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Very interesting,
Bye,
very
everybody.
informative.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.